You're listening to Wholesaling Inc., episode number 1395.
Why land?
To be honest, it just clicked. I feel like not a lot of people understand it, to me, it sounds very simple, you just got to get in there and do the work. And I never thought I was going to be in the land business or real estate business. I always shied away from it due to so many people being a real estate agent. When I heard you don't need to be a real estate agent, when I heard you just need to do A, B, and C to get the results, I was like, that's for me.
This is game-changing information guaranteed to raise your real estate wholesaling business with actionable steps you can take immediately to navigate the ins and outs of wholesaling and start making money today. Join us as we put our guests in the hot seat and dive deep to dissect their strategies for success to enable you to duplicate their results. You're listening to Wholesaling Inc., the only show dedicated to making you a fortune in wholesaling.
Imagine making an extra $10,000 on your first land deal and only taking 1 week to do it. In this episode, I am interviewing Khamille Barbosa. She's a good friend of mine. She's one of our Landsharks community members. And this gal is a powerhouse. You're going to get to hear everything she's doing. She's going to talk about that first land deal, how she found it, how long she's been in land. And guys, she put out signs, she prayed, and she cleaned the land. I cannot wait to share this episode with you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And by the way, my name is Brent Bowers, the Landman, and let's get into this episode. Khamille Barbosa, welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. How are you today?
Hello. I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I can hear you loud and clear. And, in 30 to 60 seconds, tell Rhino Nation about yourself, what you're up to.
All right. Well, I am new to the land business, quite fairly new for about a year now. Loving it, every step of it. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so always trying new things, especially if they work. I love it. And I am originally from Brazil, moved to the U.S. when I was 12. So I've lived here longer now than I've, been alive. So in Brazil. So this is my home and I love America, love land. I feel like I'm in the right spot at the right moment at the right time.
I love it. Well, I'm so happy to have you on Rhino Nation. And 1 year in the land business, you've done a lot already. And, what were you doing before land investing?
I was actually in the production world doing commercials for different brands, working with production companies, pretty big production companies in New York and Los Angeles. And it was a remote job, worked 17-hour days. It was intense. Yep. Commercials, they go pretty long and totally different thing than land. That's for sure.
Are you still working 17-hour days?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
I was going to say, I don't know if that's sustainable very long.
No, it was not.
Well, out of all the, real estate investing strategies, all the ways to get involved in real estate, why land?
To be honest, it just clicked. I feel like not a lot of people understand it to me, it sounds very simple, you just got to get in there and do the work. And I never thought I was going to be in the land business or real estate business. I always shied away from it due to so many people being a real estate agent. When I heard you don't need to be a real estate agent, when I heard you just need to do A, B, and C to get the results, I was like, that's for me. I can do that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk kind of about your first deal and what you're up to and also your struggles. Like, what are you seeing out there right now in the market? And just kind of share with Rhino Nation the raw details of being a land investor for the last year. So let's just talk about your first deal, your first land deal.
Let's do it. Okay. So I started mailing, which I still do now. I don't deviate from that. I feel like mailing is still king for me. It has always worked. So I mailed my first county close to home in Georgia where I am. I wanted to feel comfortable. I wanted to be able to drive to the land. So just pulled a list, mailed a list, started getting people called, started freaking out because I had no idea what I was doing. First of all, I also had no money, right? Never done this before, zero money in the bank. I was just like, all of the money was going into marketing and mailers. Freaking out. I was freaking out. I can definitely assure you that.
Kind of
But
like on
then,
Super Troopers, like, I'm freaking out, man.
yes, 100%. But you know what? I was like, I don't need to know the next step until this one is complete. So I just took step by step.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to
Yeah.
slow down. You didn't need to know the next step until you got the first one complete. That's a hard thing for some people to swallow. They want to know everything step by step before they're even willing to pull the trigger. I love that you said that because it sounds like you are just, okay, give me the step, I'll take it, and then I'll be back tomorrow for the next step, or, tomorrow's answers will come.
Yes.
How did you get to that mindset, that attitude? Like, that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, it was hard for me too to actually get to that. But just looking around, in our day-to-day lives, if we start thinking about all the things that could happen, should happen, how am I going to do this and that, but you have an idea, you will never move past that idea if you don't take your first step. And I feel like for me, the only way to get that step done was to forget about tomorrow and just worry about what can I get done today? What is under my, what can I do? What do I have access to? And what am I able to get accomplished today? Tomorrow will hold its own troubles. So that's kind of my mindset going into this. And that's what I did. Like I said, I was freaking out, had no money, got so many responses back, which is a little bit unheard of for your first 500 mailers out. But I got a few good properties. I mean, I'm not even going to say if I think they were good. There were not that many comps in the area. But I know I needed to make my first step. And this guy who actually mailed back a letter was the first person to ever mail back something. So I was like, wouldn't it be nice if I got this property sold? Because I think that would be a great story. That's kind of what I thought in my mind. And so I reached back out to him. I had offered $25,000 for his property. It was an infill lot, not much going on near the Atlanta airport, like 15 minutes from it, but not much going on in the area. But I did see that it was agriculture zone, so there was some opportunity there to get it rezoned commercially, maybe. Again, I had no idea what I was talking about, okay? So it may sound like I did, but I was like a fish out of water. I had no idea. And I started putting signs on the property, just for sale signs, handwritten. My handwriting is terrible, but I put a few signs out there, and then I just began praying. I was like, I think there's something good here. Oh, and I also began cleaning the property myself. I got a couple guys, I hired a couple buddies, and I was like, hey, let's clean this property. I think you would look better. Somebody can drive through it. And that's what we did. And we got a call within that first week that somebody was interested. And because I was so new, I was just so, raw and afraid and all the things. I didn't think much about what the retail value was going to be. I just said, if I can get 10K from this, I'll be happy. So bought it for, I think at the end, I bought it for 23 and sold it for 33,000.
Oh my gosh. Signs, pray, clean, 10K profit. Oh
Yeah.
man, so much to break down. Okay. So, wow, you put it out there. You wanted to make 10K, sell it for 10,000 more, and you did it. So let's back up. Where did you, so first of all, actually, before we back up, let me get the victory bell out. $10,000 on your first
Let's
land
go.
deal.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in my Army job to make $10,000, that would have been over 2.5 months of working 14, 15, sometimes 16-hour days as an Army officer. So I remember just starting out in the real estate business thinking to myself, if I could just make 10K, and then it was, if I could just make 10K a month consistently. And it's just, I was like, my life would never be the same. So you pulled a list. What list was this? Like, was this a special list? Was this a niche list, like from usleadlist.com, or like, where did you get this list?
This was just a priced list. I wanted something I heard from a few people. Again, I actually didn't know, like, where do I buy lists? I didn't know all the competitors, all the list places you could get. Anyways, ended up going with Priced, and it seemed clean enough. Did a little bit of filtering. Again, nothing crazy. So just pulled a county near me. So going within the counties near me, and I just went 0.25 acres to 1 acre lots. I didn't want to deal with anything bigger. I wanted to keep it very just small and clean, things that I knew I could handle at the time. So that's what I did. Just pulled that list from a county near my house, about 45 minutes, and mailed those babies out.
I like it. I love how you took action. I love how you mailed close to home because you can go and look at the land if you needed to. You ended up cleaning up this land and making it better, improving it. So, okay, what kind of letter did you send out? Was it like a blind offer with a price on it, or was it just a postcard, or like, what did it look like?
Yeah, it was an actual letter like you tell us to do, with an actual offer. Again, my offer was at the time I was just doing zip code, kind of going to Redfin, plugging in the zip code and looking what sold in the area and kind of coming up with a price per acre based on that. And for this specific zip code, there weren't that many comps. So I didn't have much to go with. To be completely honest, this was a gut thing, like this one property and my second one too. It was a gut thing. I was like, I need to make a step or I will be paralyzed forever. I was like, I had these properties sitting for a month and a half before I decided to purchase them. I was just a little bit paralyzed of like what to do, and didn't know what the next step was until I did a little bit of research.
Now, did you actually take down this lot? Did you actually buy it for $23,000?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was under my name. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. So I assume the buyer came from, first of all, praying and putting out signs. And, is that how you found the buyer, was through a sign?
Yes, I didn't even have time to list it with a realtor.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that work? I mean, how many signs? You must have put out at least, 30 or 40 signs, right?
Well, no. Funny enough, this was a really busy street. So I had 2 signs.
Two signs?
I had
Wait a minute.
2
Did
signs.
I hear that right? 2 signs?
Yeah, 2 signs.
What was this, like a
I
neon
know. No.
full sheet of plywood, or like what?
No,
What did the
I
sign say?
wish. No, it was literally just land for sale by owner. I got it from Home Depot, put 2 signs on there right in the front since it was a little busy highway. And then the second thing that I did do was I did mail the neighbors, letting them know that this property was coming to the market and I would give them a deal if they want to purchase before. And I feel like my buyer actually he owned a property nearby, now that I'm thinking about. But yes, I mailed neighbors and I put 2 signs on my property. And I did get a lot of calls, funny enough.
It's a force multiplier. I say put it out everywhere, signs everywhere, reach out to the neighbors and, see if they want to own more land. I actually have it's an industrial building that I bought about a little over a month ago. And guess what? Guess who our potential tenant's going to be for it? One of the neighbors. Yep. So it works with industrial, it works with land. Reach out to these neighbors and see if they want to buy the land that's close by them. Also put signs out, put it on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and Facebook buy-sell groups and the land sales specialist real estate agents. I want to be everywhere. I want as many eyeballs as possible on this land. So you put land for sale, by owner. I mean, just sounds too simple, Khamille. Like it just sounds too simple.
I was surprised. I'm not going to lie. That got me going for sure. I was like, I can't believe I did this in a week. I couldn't even believe it. I was just like, this cannot be real. I just purchased I didn't have $23,000. I got investor money, and how fast I paid them back, they couldn't believe it either because they knew it was my first deal. So, it was awesome all around.
That's so incredible. I mean, what did that look like? Like, how was that celebration? Did you take time to celebrate that $10,000?
Yes, I did. Oh yeah, there was a lot of celebrate. I danced like I've never danced before. I'm not a dancer. I've definitely jumped and screamed, lost my voice, but yeah, it was intense. I'm not going to lie. The little power that you get from doing your first deal to me is, I don't know, there's no price. It's awesome. It's amazing.
I love it. Well, let's talk about the struggles and the frustrations because, it's not always sunshine and rainbow in every business. For me, just getting started, I had many a false starts. There was areas that I mailed that I didn't get any response because I messed up the mailer. I offered way too low and I had to remail it again. And this time I actually got traction. Like this was when I was first starting out, and I think that's life testing us, God testing us, whatever you want to call it, like seriously saying, do you really want this? And are you willing to keep taking the steps and the action steps to get you the result? What are some of the frustrations that you've had to overcome, the obstacles? What are you currently seeing right now in the market? And as far as, I guess that's two questions really. First, let's do the frustrations.
Yeah, those are great questions. And I kind of feel I heard somebody tell me this before I started or during, let's say my first 6 months, because you are right. Like things will not always go perfect, right? You will buy a piece of land and it will not sell within the week. You will take 6 months maybe. And so that definitely happened. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's very important to keep perspective. And I think it's important to remember it is a business. It takes a little time to get going. And at the end of the day, persistence and consistency is like the winner, wins every time. Because during the slow seasons, I feel if I am continuously mailing, even though I'm not selling anything, even though I'm not seeing it much coming back, if that mailer is hitting every month, there's that consistency there, it will come back. There's the ups and downs of the business. So I feel like that's one of my biggest lessons is not stopping when I feel things are slowing down. Like for me not to go with the flow of what I see because that doesn't determine what's going on, right? So I feel like for me, my biggest kind of challenge was in the middle there. I felt like I wasn't getting any responses. My land is not selling. It's been sitting in the market for 6 months. Did I make a mistake? You start questioning, you start, freaking out a little bit. I spent all this money, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like remembering that, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you did your due diligence, things are just taking a little longer. And as long as we're doing everything that we can possibly do that's within our reach, the rest is up, to God. The rest is up to whenever that person is ready to buy that land. But I just rest now knowing that I'm doing everything I know to do and there's nothing else that I can do. And I can just rest and know that this is a business at the end of the day. And I believe in it. And I just kind of get around people. Like the Landsharks is one of the biggest reasons I'm here is because of the mindset and the people doing things. You see some people sell while I'm not selling. I'm celebrating with them because I know my time will come.
Yeah.
So it's really good to be around people who are going for it and they're winners and they are excited.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have such a great, positive, mental, strong attitude, and you're a champion. You're a competitor. You're in the arena, taking the action steps every single day. And you're right. The Landsharks community. Holy cow, our community, in Rhino Nation and Wholesaling Inc. Everyone's winner. Like so many of us are winners, and we don't you don't hear the negativity. You only hear listen, it's taking a little longer than I planned, or it didn't work out the way I planned, but we always see the light at the end of the tunnel. And, there's always a positive outcome, and it's just consistently, I love what you said, persistent and consistency, being persistent, having the consistency because it too will sell, there's a buyer for every piece of land. I had one that took a lot longer than I planned. I was almost 6 months, but I'm going to make over $78,000 on this land deal. Plus I'm getting paid. It's going to be $78,000 profit. Plus I'm getting paid for interest payments for the next 5 years at $1,928 a month in interest payments. So that's in addition to the $70,000+ plus. And this one took me longer than I planned. it did not work out the way I planned. And, even I sometimes doubt, like, oh man, maybe I made a mistake, or maybe no one's buying in this area. Maybe, I start getting in my head, and it's like, okay, calm down. We're listed at the right price. It's just taking longer than planned. We know the numbers look good. We bought it at the right price. We bought it at 50 cents on the dollar. What's the worst that can happen? We just sit on it for a couple years, or we sell it for what we've got into it. That's it.
Yep, exactly. I believe that. And, I did have land that sold that I didn't make any money on it. But guess what? I learned so much, right? I didn't lose money because not only I've learned from that deal, I bought it off Facebook Marketplace. It's insane. And I still sold it for $10,000 more than what I bought it for. The reason for no money is because it took so long. But I've learned so much from that property that I like having these situations where it's like, what is happening? It makes you dig a little deeper. No pun intended with land, but I love that. I just I love these circumstances that pushes you and it squeezes you. Something good can come out of it if you don't allow it to crush you. If you just allow it to squeeze you enough for you to figure out, okay, there's a new perspective here. There's something that I could be doing different. And I'll be honest, Brett, you did that for me when I came in. I was a little bit overwhelmed. I had a piece of land that I bought. Facebook, it had water in it, and I was like freaking out. And you're like, listen, just do this, and this, and this, and trust the process. And sure enough, we sold it. So happy about that.
Good job. That's amazing. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that you got it sold. And, you reminded me, like you said, the pressure. You know how diamonds are made, right?
Yep.
Pressure
exactly.
and time. The right amount of pressure too. Not too much, not too little. But
yes.
Khamille, what are you seeing right now in the market? Like what's things looking like for you and your land business? What are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, a couple things. There's a lot of people that were here, like maybe wholesalers in the beginning, they were super new about a year ago, they're kind of discouraged, right? And they're jumping out because they feel like they haven't seen that quick turnaround, a month or 2 months. Maybe it's taking 3 months or 5 months. And I don't know, I have a feeling that as these newbies that are like coming in that unfortunately, they're looking for what can I do in a month? And if they hang on just a little bit longer, I feel like things are going to turn. I feel like land is land at the end of the day. You have a good deal. It's a good deal no matter what the market, is happening. People are going to want to buy land. People love owning land. That's never going to change. They're not making more of it. So it is the supply and demand here. And even if the market is slowing down a little bit, I feel like it's a really good time for us who are in the business to evaluate, kind of tighten up some of the processes, get ready. Like, don't just wait for something to happen, but adjust and, adjust the teams and the processes and keep a mailing out, because I'm seeing a lot of responses. We just sent a mailer out and we got so many responses, and I was like, I thought it was a little dead, and it's not, as long as you're putting it out there. That's the thing. Like, maybe this area is not as good as the next area, but people are buying. People love land. There's enough land out there for everybody to buy and sell. So I feel like you just got to keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely cyclical. There's some months where I'm like, holy cow, like we had so many deals that we bought. Oh, but nothing's selling right now. And then you wait 30 days. It's almost like the weather in Colorado. You just wait a few minutes. If you don't like it, it's going to change. It's the same thing. Some months I call them the season of selling and the season of buying. Right now I'm in the season of selling because I've acquired too much in the past. I shouldn't say too much. I've acquired several in the past few months. And then also I took some land deals back that I was seller financing, some land that I didn't get big down payments on. Maybe they paid only a few thousand down or $4,000 down. Well, I've taken some of that land back lately and it's time to resell it. But let me tell you, one of them we just got an offer on. We purchased these for $9,000 a lot out in Colorado. And the first time we sold them for $20,000. So we kind of doubled our money, but it was on financing. and we collected $5,000 down and we collect about $4,000 in payments. So we've actually paid for both parcels of land. We're about break even right now. So I have nothing into them really, except for the taxes. I just sold them again for $15,000 down. These are 2 parcels, and they're now selling for $30,000 each. So this time a total of $60,000. So it's actually a blessing. Some of this land appreciated, and it took a little longer to sell than I thought because 17 other parcels came on the market at the same time I listed mine. So I was just like, oh, wow, man. So what did I do?
That's crazy.
We made an offer on those 17 parcels because I wanted to see if I can get those for like 50 cents on the dollar and control the market. He didn't accept it.
I see.
But, that's all right. We were trying to make lemonade out of lemons. But Khamille, thank you so much for being on Wholesaling Inc. podcast, talking to Rhino Nation. What's one thing you'd like to let someone know, like, how they can be successful in real estate, or one piece of advice you'd like to give?
Yeah, I would say the main thing that did it for me was get around winners. Do not take advice from people who have not sold anything, have not done anything. Get advice from people who are selling. Get around the Landsharks people. They're awesome. Just get around people that are doing things that will motivate you to do things.
I love it. Surround yourself with winners. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. You hang out with dogs, you get fleas. So, I read a quote the other day that a friend of mine posted, and it said, his name is Joseph that posted it, and Joseph Delafave. And it said, stop hanging out with negative people. They've got a problem for every solution that you have. So I was like,
there you go.
That's incredible. So watch who you're surrounding yourself with. And maybe you might say, Brent, I don't know any successful people. I don't know any positive people. All my friends and family members are negative and broke and dull and stupid. Then buy books. You can hang out with guys like Henry Ford and Napoleon Hill. Yes. And Jay Connor. I'm just looking at my bookshelf right now, but Jim Collins, Good to Great. Like, you could become friends with these people by reading their books, buying their books. It's just the book Traction, and there's another one. I bought Rocket Fuel today off of Amazon. I heard Pace Morby recommend it today, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never read Rocket Fuel. And I look where I bought that book back in 2020, and it was delivered to my lake house, and I have no idea where it went. But you can buy the books from guys like Tony Robbins, and that's who you want to surround yourself with. So, can I recommend a book really quickly? Go ahead. That changed my life? It's You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. That book is amazing. So if you get a chance. You Are a Badass by who? Jen Sincero. Jen Sincero. There you go, Rhino Nation. And by the way, you're surrounding yourself with positive people just by listening to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. So definitely share this episode with someone. And if you haven't done so already, please give us a 5-star rating and review. It definitely helps us out with the algorithm. But again, share Khamille's podcast with someone that needs to hear this, to get off, stop being negative, stop worrying about tomorrow's results, and just worry about the actions you can take today. And speaking of action, go to wholesalinginc.com/land, schedule that call, fill out the application, and we'll see you on the other side. God bless, Rhino Nation. See you on the next one.
That's all for this episode. Your next step to success is to continue the conversation over at wholesalinginc.com by joining the mailing list, as well as get your chance to book a strategy session to learn the systems and become part of the tribe and work personally with one of our amazing coaches. We'll see you next episode with more ways to make you a fortune in wholesaling.